Oh, and continuing the trend, Zack Snyder's not coming back. He has not been coy about saying this. We need to squash these rumors at all costs because it's damaging. I'm losing my mind. Hello, Big Show nerds. So we have an episode. It's 2 episodes in one, so it's just really long. I'm not going to bore you with too much of the stuff. Don't forget to subscribe because we are still doing the push for 1,000 so that we can give one of you guys a PlayStation 5. So all of that being said, here's the intro, and then we'll talk news. Let's talk TV streaming, nerds. So we have a couple follow-ups, like you would. This has been a long time ago, and we haven't really heard anything from it for a while, but Wild Cards, which is George R.R. Martin's other giant book series. This one's science fiction, starts off as alternate history, and then moves into a near future, kind of really awesome superhero situation. The series is now going to be on Peacock and not Hulu. The last time we reported on this, it was switching from Showtime, I believe, to Hulu. So it's still somewhere in development because these streamers are trying to actively get their hands on it, probably because it has George R.R. Martin's name attached to it. But either way, if you haven't read the Wild Cards books, please do. They're kind of amazing, and they're not exclusively, I should say, written by George R.R. Martin. They're a collection of short stories, kind of. That it's really confusing. It's honestly just a book written by about 6 authors, and they each write a section of the book, and those sections then get intermingled by Martin himself, who also writes a section of his own. So he is credited as writer and editor, and then the other authors are credited as just writers. It's pretty freaking cool. I know I'm not describing it in a way that does it justice, but it is one of my favorite science fiction series in books by far. Honestly, it's great. There's like 26 books, too, so you could be reading them forever. Our next piece... Sorry, I'm rambling. Our next piece has to do with What We Do in the Shadows. This one's really quick. FX has announced that they have renewed the series for its 4th season. So, vampire fans rejoice. Our last piece in the follow-up section is Outlander. Again, very quickly, 7th season has been officially announced to be happening, so they got renewed as well. Congratulations to both What We Do in the Shadows and Outlander. Our first piece of news has to do with Secret Invasion. This is our first official piece of news about this series, which is pretty freaking awesome, aside from the things that they already announced when they announced that the series was happening. Kingsley Ben-Adir has been cast as a villain in the series. They did not say the villain, so everyone's saying that, oh, he's probably going to play the Super Skrull. While that's potentially going to happen because we might get the Skrull Queen as the villain, we don't know that for certain. That would be speculation, so we're not going to talk about that here, and we actually don't have that in the rumor mill. So there's your little brief glimpse of the rumor that is surrounding Kingsley Ben-Adir. But yeah, pretty freaking cool. Starting to get some more casting beyond just Samuel L. Jackson and the like, so yeah, moving right along, though. We have our last piece is based on the book Let the Right One In. This might sound familiar to you horror genre buffs because this actually has been a movie twice. So there's the French version of it. It's a book written by a French author, so it makes sense that it was adapted to a French film first. But then it was also adapted into the movie Let Me In, which I believe had Chloe Grace Moretz playing the main little vampire. This was when Chloe Grace Moretz was still pretty young. It has to do with a very young vampire that befriends a very young human child and basically takes care of him. And they're turning it into a series. Potentially. So Showtime has optioned for a pilot. They have not optioned a season. They've just optioned one episode for this, which very well could evolve into a series. They have brought in Demián Bichir, Demián Bichir has been cast as the lead in the series. I would assume he's the kid. I didn't really look that deep into this. I just thought it was a really cool announcement. Godzilla vs. Kong is the biggest other piece of nerd cred that he has on his resume. So pretty interesting as this evolves. If it goes beyond just a pilot, we will definitely be keeping tabs on it because it's a pretty decent movie. I to be honest, haven't read the book, but I've seen both the French and the English versions of the movie. So go check it out. That's all we've got for TV streaming. Now let's talk movies. We have one follow-up, and it is Black Widow officially has a release date for the moment. May 7th is the official release date for Black Widow. Should anything happen, that will very likely change. It doesn't seem like that's the case, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But as it stands right now, Black Widow, May 7th, moving on. Next has to do with Mortal Kombat, very briefly. Mortal Kombat, the movie reboot. I don't know why this is news. It has been rated R. What? No way! They keep telling us about how bloody and deadly this movie's going to be, and it gets an R rating? That's crazy. It should. The first two movies should have been rated R because of the subject matter which they were trying to adapt. Granted, the first movie did a pretty decent job of that. Not the greatest, especially if you go back and watch it now as an adult, but still, it should be rated R because fatalities and blood are kind of a mainstay in the franchise. So that's what we got there. Next, like I said, we're going to touch on this in a second. Theaters reopening. As of March 19th, so very, very soon, LA is giving the theater crowd the ability to reopen. So movie theaters will be able to reopen as of March 19th, as it stands right now, at 25% capacity. There's always that little caveat. So it's not the best. It's honestly not enough that they're probably going to be able to make enough money to survive on, but they might be able to keep their heads above water a little bit longer, in hopes that eventually they will be able to reopen. So that's potentially good news. And then our last follow-up has to do with Avatar. I don't know if you have had your head under a rock for the last couple of years, I guess. Avatar, which is really just Fern Gully in space, has been fighting with Avengers Endgame for the highest grossing movie of all time. When last we spoke about this, Avengers was wearing the crown, but then they decided they were going to re-release Avatar in theaters in China, and lo and behold, Avatar wins. A highest grossing theatrical release. That's the little caveat there. It's the highest grossing theatrical release of a movie of all time. But both of these franchises are now owned by Disney, so I don't see why this is really huge. Philip DeFranco said this the best when he said, that's like saying my left hand is better than my right hand. They're both my hands. Who cares? It's a little bit of lunacy. I'm not gonna lie. And the people who are taking umbrage with the fact that, they cheated because they re-released it in theaters. Yeah, so did Avengers. Avengers re-released it with quote-unquote extra footage, which was not really extra footage. It was just a little bit of like behind-the-scenes stuff at the end of the movie because they didn't have a stinger scene, whatever. It's silly. Disney's making a crap ton of money. That is what we've learned from this. Now let's move on to our actual news. First up, we're talking about a new Jeffery Dean Morgan movie called Unholy. Really, just go watch the trailer. It's linked down in the show notes. April 2nd, 2021. Super excited about it. We're moving on. Our final piece has to do with Flashpoint. Technically, this is a series of follow-ups, but because it's a series of follow-ups, we put it in as a brand new news piece because, it's my show. I get to do that. Flashpoint is, the first piece is Billy Crudup, who was supposed to play Barry's dad. Henry, sorry, again, had to swallow. Henry Allen was supposed to be played by Billy Crudup. Billy Crudup has left the project. I couldn't really find why. It sounded like it might have been some sort of scheduling conflict because it's been kind of on hold for so long. So that's the first piece. The second piece is Maribel Verdu has been cast as Nora Allen. So, yeah, we lost one, we gained one. There you go. That's what we got. That is the movie section, nerds. Now let's get into the rumor mill. Rumor mill is, considering it's 2 episodes worth of rumor mill, it's kind of short, not gonna lie, but whatever, we'll talk. So first we have a refutation from James Gunn himself about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. He's looking for a quote-unquote Zac Efron type to play Adam Warlock is not true at all. Because James Gunn said, if I wanted a quote-unquote Zac Efron type, why wouldn't I just go for quote-unquote Zac freaking Efron? It's not like I'm not working for two of the biggest production companies in the world. I would have the power. I mean, I'm definitely paraphrasing him at this point, but yeah, so that's not the active thing. One thing of note that a lot of the, again, more Gamergate kind of oriented outlets have been focusing on, probably a little bit too much, is that he said, if the character's skin in the comics is gold, why would I have to go for a white actor at all? So kind of hinting that he might be looking for a POC or a BIPOC to play the role of Adam Warlock. I don't really care because, like he said, the character's gold. Who gives a crap? So yeah, that's what we have for confirmations, reputations. In the actual rumor mill, we're moving first into Wonder Woman 3. It has been noted that Patty Jenkins might not be returning for the third installment. Actually, I feel like she's kind of beat around the bush and saying as much. But so now, because of that, Zack Snyder is being rumored to be brought in as the director in order to, quote-unquote, save the franchise, because if you want to believe all of the rumor mongers and so on and so forth, then all of the things that you loved about the first Wonder Woman movie that were then absent from the second Wonder Woman movie were kind of at least began in the brain of Zack Snyder, and then Patty Jenkins threw all that stuff out for Wonder Woman 1984, and we saw how that happened. So if this is true, then it very well could be because Warner Brothers is saying, hey, we need somebody in here who knows these stories and knows these characters at least a little bit better. Honestly, in my personal opinion, I don't know if that person is Zack Snyder, but whatever, it's just a rumor, right? So the viability of this rumor is pretty low, to be 100% honest, because we have heard in no uncertain terms, and I will continue to say this until he says otherwise, from Zack Snyder himself, that once the Snyder cut of the Justice League is released, which is next week, that's it. That's all we're going to be getting from Mr. Snyder. He's moving on. He's moving away from the DCEU. He's doing other projects. He's doing a zombie movie for Netflix, for crying out loud. So, likelihood that this is a thing, I'm going to put it at about 15%, and that's being generous. Our next rumor has to do with Man of Steel 2. This one is a continuation, kind of the previous one. So, Man of Steel 2, Henry Cavill is himself trying to still appeal to the upper-ups at Warner Brothers and AT&T to get the movie made, according to the rumor. This is a difficult one to believe because you're kind of speculating on the intentions of a person, and when this person is very tight-lipped about these intentions, you can't really speculate on that. But we do have a little bit of evidence to show that this, again, the viability here is pretty slim. Man of Steel 2 very likely would need a Zack Snyder because he kind of ruined it in the first one, so he would need to course correct. But they could get somebody else to course correct. And that's just my opinion. I know Man of Steel 2 is very divisive in the nerd community. Fight me. But so that's kind of dependent. We know he's not coming back, but also we know that Cavill, even though he does have a contract that says he's got so many cameos to do in the DC movies, which is very quickly going to be burnt out with the Shazam movies, I believe, and the Black Adam movies, but so Henry Cavill would need to sign a new contract, and we already know he's working on The Witcher, he's potentially working on the Mass Effect project, he's potentially working on a number of other things. If he's actively petitioning Warner Brothers to make a Man of Steel movie, when does he want to make it? 10 years from now? Is he still going to be that guy 10 years from now? Just doesn't add up. So viability for this one, I'm putting even lower, about 10% likely that this is going to happen. Our next piece of rumor has to do with Justice League 2 and 3. And continuing the trend, Zack Snyder's not coming back. He has not been coy about saying this. We need to squash these rumors at all costs because it's damaging. I'm losing my mind. Justice League 2 and 3 is not happening. I know it's coming from a couple of like really big leakers, really big like nerd rumor monger people. Oh, but it's not happening. It's not happening. Granted, this specific rumor says that talks are on the table. The option exists should Zack Snyder want to do this. But don't then take that and run and say, oh, it's happening, because it's not. Snyder has no interest in it. He wanted to finish his story with a 4-hour movie. Granted, it does reportedly end on a cliffhanger, but still, it's a 4 freaking hour movie. I'm pretty sure he got out what he wanted to say. Viability for Justice League 2 and 3, we're going even lower, baby. 5% for 2 and 0% for 3. If he can't get it done in 8 hours or even 6 hours, it's not worth telling. Next, we're talking about Green Goblin. Willem Dafoe reportedly for the Spider-Man 3 movie. We've already talked about this. He's been seen on set. It's kind of sort of been half-ass announced, but now it is saying that not only is he going to be in this movie, but Sony wants to give him his very own spin-off movie as the Green Goblin. This is definitely grasping at straws. This is not pretty. Not a good look on you, rumor mill. There's so much rumor for this episode that's just not gonna happen. This one has a sliver of possibility more than the other 3 that we just talked about because I want it to. No, but because like Willem Dafoe, there's not really a whole lot on his plate in the near future. It could be a one and done kind of situation, which would make a little bit of sense. We do have other rumors brewing for a different actor to be playing the character going forward in the MCU proper, so it could be an Elseworld story as well. Being as we know that Spider-Man 3 is going to deal with the multiverse, that kind of plays into that as well. So there is just a little bit more of a shred of possibility that this is going to happen. So viability for this rumor is probably about 20%. Willem Dafoe would be, if we can get him out of the Power Ranger suit, would be fantastic as a Green Goblin. I don't know for how much longer though, so it needs to happen soon or it's not going to happen at all. Our next rumor has to do with the Munsters. This is being reported by a lot of other outlets as fact, but they're only one source, and I'm going to give you the source on this. Murphy's Multiverse is the only place that's reporting that this is going to happen. There are a couple of other rumors attached to it that are coming from other sources, but they are rumor based on rumors, so those count even less. We're going to touch on one of those. So the rumor is that Rob Zombie is going to be making a reboot movie for the Munsters franchise. So there's a lot to unpack there. Rob Zombie does like the Munsters. He definitely has referenced them in song lyrics. He's talked about them in interviews. They've as an inspiration for him from childhood. So that's not really playing against this. It's actually playing for this. But Rob Zombie doesn't make that kind of movie, so that kind of is an interesting thing to consider. But also, he's going to put Sherry Moon Zombie in as Lily Munster. If he were to direct it, yeah, probably. But also, if he were to direct it, it would be like this dark, gritty, disgusting version of the Munsters. And I just don't see the mind of Zombie and the property of the Munsters really meshing super well in anything more than like a very, very superficial way. So that's really interesting. So we're going to break this into 2 rumors. So the first rumor is that the movie's happening at all. It could be. It's really a stretch. We're putting this one right at about 20% as well, just because, there's a lot that you kind of have to forget about in the world of movie making. So the other half of this, the other rumor that we're going to be talking about, is kind of a couple of different rumors. So the first one is that they're going to change the character of Eddie Munster to be Lily's brother instead of Lily's son, and they're also changing the name to Lester. According to the rumor, as it stands right now, Eddie Marsan has been offered the role of Lester Munster. Lester, not Munster, because Lily's, whatever, I can't remember Lily's maiden name. It's been so long since I've watched the Munsters. But so if he does not take it, then the next next person that they're looking at in line is Haley Joel Osment to play the role, the werewolf in the family, effectively. This one, again, this is definitely rumor based on rumor, so there ain't no way we're going above 50%. But considering the first part of this is 20% viability, this is not looking good. So much here again to unpack. They're going to change the monsters, even though like they want to reboot the franchise, and they're offering it to two very different actors, and like no, we're not gonna. I'm just not doing it. We're 10% viability. 10% viability. There is so little possibility for this to be happening. Moving on. Our next one has to do with the Batman. We have another source that is now claiming that the Waynes, before they die in this Elseworlds, we know Matt Reeves' version of the Batman is an Elseworlds story. In this Elseworlds story, that the Waynes are bad guys, effectively. I mean, the rumor puts it in different words, but that's effectively what they're saying. I can't remember what I gave the last one, but this time, it's such a bad idea, but it might happen. 50%. 50% viability here. Next, we're talking about Harley and the Joker. This is another rumor, and this is kind of coming back to this potential movie. So Harley and the Joker, back before the debacle that was the first Suicide Squad movie, was rumored to be on the table. It was going to be the Suicide Squad, and then the Harley movie, and then the Harley and Joker movie. That didn't really happen. We got the Suicide Squad, and then the Harley movie became the Birds of Prey movie, and then the Harley and Joker movie just kind of vanished off of the table. Well, now the rumor says that it's coming back. I don't know why it would be coming back. Jared Leto as the Joker, unless they're going to recast the Joker and do something else completely different with this, which is not what the rumor says. The rumor doesn't really say anything beyond, hey, they're considering doing this again. So I can't give a whole lot of credence there. A really low viability in the rumor mill today, guys. We're going, again, about 15% likelihood that this is real. Next is Deadpool 3. There's two rumors here. First rumor, that Jim Carrey is going to be the villain for Deadpool 3. Who the hell is Jim Carrey going to play in a superhero movie as the main villain? Like, I mean, I know there's got to be somebody in the annals of the Marvel Comics that I just, no. No. Jim Carrey is rumored to be looking for some sort of superhero movie to do again because, you know, his version of the Riddler doesn't leave the best taste in most fans' mouths, so that is, there's got to be a better legacy that he can leave the comic book world. Nah, we don't really care, Jim. I'm sorry. We like your comedy, though, so maybe try that again. I just can't. There's nothing to back this up. Very, very little even in the rumors that suggest that things are going this direction. So likelihood for this, the viability for this rumor, 10%. It's 10% likely that this is going to be a thing. The other rumor about Deadpool 3, rather, is Millie Bobby Brown is now being reported to be attached to the project, to be returning as Negasonic Teenage Warhead, because the girl who played her in the first two movies would be almost 30 by the time this movie gets made, so no longer a teenager. Negasonic young adult Warhead is kind of more likely. Such a weak source that I just apparently wanted to just poop all over the rumor mill today. So Millie Bobby Brown is looking to do more than just Stranger Things. This is pretty much well known. So like, yeah, that's one thing that plays towards this, but I feel like we're way too early in the process to be calling this at all, let alone the fact that that character very well might not even be in this movie. So again, very, very low on the viability scale. I'll give this one probably about 10% as well, just because it's too ridiculous to go higher than that. And then we finally reached our final rumor, and that is Quicksilver. Quicksilver, a.k.a. Aaron Taylor Johnson, sorry, first day with the new mouth, is now rumored to be returning as Quicksilver, because we didn't get Quicksilver like we wanted in WandaVision, so now we're just going to go for the runner-up Quicksilver. I don't understand today's rumor mill, guys. No, I can't put a whole lot of potential behind this either, because what? Granted, we don't know really what's going on right now for Aaron Taylor Johnson's work and for the next little while. So there is a slim possibility there. But again, I really can't. And the rumor is, and this is the only thing that's putting this up over 10%. The rumor is that he's going to show up in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. So, like, because that movie is such a wild card right now, it lends a little bit of credence to pretty much any rumor attached to it, because we don't know how crazy they're going to go. We do know they're probably going to play it a little bit safer than everybody's thinking because of what happened in WandaVision versus what we were expecting. So I'll bump this up to 20% viability just because it is associated with that movie, but that's being generous. And that is the Rumor Mill, nerds. That does it for today's episode of Headlines, nerds. For more in-depth conversation on these nerdy bits, plus the entirety of the Nerd News Show, you can join me on my personal YouTube channel, Generally Nerdy. While you're here, though, again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all of the Big Show entertainment media platforms, because we are doing the push for 1,000 over on the YouTube, and we are on all of the social medias. So go find us, conversate, do all of the things. Thank you very much. Before I go, don't forget to tune in next time for all that's happening across the nerd world.